Pitaro will have some questions.
You are, and Mr. Pitaro, just so that we can see and hear you the best, if you could make sure your full face is in the video, that way we can see what you're saying and we can hear you the best as well. Sometimes you drop so only your nose and up is visible. If you could maintain a position where we can see your full face, it's much better.
I can understand that, Your Honor.
Well, we still, okay, now yes, you might need to tip that a bit.
Your Honor, just for the record, I'm perfectly happy not to look at Mr. Pitaro's face during the proceedings today.
So, maybe just that little bit.
Yes, if you sit back, Mr. Pitaro, and speak loudly, sir, we should be able to hear you all right.
That better, Your Honor?
Yes.
Captain Jenkins, when you, were going on direct examination, you, said that the reason that Stewart Handte gave Tracy Griffin a ride back to Mr. Griffin's automobile was to facilitate the escape of Mr. Hillygus. Remember saying that?
Not so that he could facilitate it, but that so Mr. Hillygus was free to remove his mom and take her wherever he needed to go, leaving the care home, and that he could take Mr. Griffith back to his car.
Well, Mr. Handte never told you that the reason he took Mr. Griffin back to his car was to aid in a facilitation of escape by Mr. Hillygus, was it?
No, it was not a direct quote. You were correct.
Well, there was no quote about facilitating an escape at all, was there?
He told me that they discussed it beforehand, and that he told Mr. Griffith that in the event that Mr. Hillygus was successful in removing his mother from the home, that he would need to be free to take her wherever it was he was taking her, which meant that Mr. Handte had to then transport Mr. Griffith back to his car because Mr. Griffith had arrived with Mr. Hillygus and didn't have his own car there.
Actually, Detective, you can take my word for it, you can start playing tapes, but I listened to this tape, and the only thing that Mr. Handte ever said was the reason he took Mr. Griffin back to his car was Mr. Griffin asked him for a ride back to his car because they were going in the same direction. Isn't that correct?
I don't believe it is correct.
Okay. Well, when the court listens to the tape, we can see if there's facilitating an escape. Are you backing off that there was no statement by Mr. Handte that he was facilitating an escape of Mr. Hillygus?
No, I mean, I will maintain that what he told me was that he and Mr. Griffith had a discussion prior to entering the care home, that in the event that Mr. Hillygus was successful in removing his mother from that home, he would need to take Tracy back to his car so that Mr. Hillygus was free to take his mother away from the home in his own car.
And you're relying upon the that's in the transcript, the way you just said.
Not as an exact quote, but yes.
Well, you're up here testifying concerning statements that are made, and it appears that when you start using facilitating escape that is not mentioned in any transcript and attributed to Mr. Handte, that does not seem to be a fair recitation of what was said, is it?
It was certainly not meant as a direct quote, and I'm sorry for the confusion, but I do think it's a fair representation of the context of what was said to me.
The context of what is said is what Mr. Handte says to you, isn't it?
Correct.
You don't get to interpret what he or anyone else might mean. When you are talking, when you are relating a conversation by a defendant in custody, your job is to relate accurately what that individual said, isn't it?
I object to the form of the question.
Well, due respect, Your Honor, this is cross-examination. I never understand, and I'm asking to ask leading questions like that. I may not like the answer, but that's a proper question.
So I'll allow the question. You might need to repeat it, Mr. Pitaro.
Want me to say it again?
Please, if you wouldn't mind.
Isn't it true that you as a police officer who is testifying concerning statements made by a defendant in custody, that you as a police officer are obligated to state accurately what is said?
It is, and I certainly do my best to give accurate representations of what's said.
Except you didn't do too good with an accurate representation of facilitating an escape, did you?
I guess I would maintain that I still feel that was a fair representation, although not a direct quote of the information that was given to me by Mr. Handte.
That's what you thought it meant. Not what Mr. Handte necessarily thought it meant, was it?
Well, I won't propose to know what Mr. Handte thought.
But that's exactly what you were proposing when you said that. That you were proposing that you knew what he meant when he said it, not what you said. Isn't that correct?
I don't think so, no.
Well, now, we do have the transcript of this, as we've listened to it. And you made some statements that, quite truthfully, opposite of detective, are surprising. And I want to start right at the beginning.
Okay.
When you interview Mr. Handte, you asked him basically what happened to you.
Sorry, what was the last couple words you said?
That you asked Mr. Handte basically to tell you what happened during this incident.
Yes, that's accurate.
All right, and so, isn't it true that Mr. Handte told you three things right at the beginning? He told you, one, that he signed in as Stu. You remember him telling you that?
He did initially tell me that.
Yes. And he also told you that he put Susie down, didn't he?
I don't think he said Susie. I think he may have said that he put down Susan.
Okay. Susie and Susan is pretty close, isn't it?
It is, I was just trying to be accurate.
Right. You didn't think Susie versus Susan was a deception, did you?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
That doesn't appear to be a deception, does it?
Oh, I wasn't claiming you were being deceptive, I was just trying to be accurate, is all.
I understand. And then the third thing he said was that it was signed in as Gus. Isn't that correct?
You know, there were several other different things he said regarding the sign-in sheet from point A to point B. If you're asking me if those are exclusively the only things that he said, no, I cannot concede to that right now.
I didn't ask you, it was the only thing he said. I was asking you, isn't it the first thing he said?
If you asked me about Gus, you also asked me about him writing his own name, and you asked me about writing the name Susan or Susie.
Yes, and I said to you that he told you right initially, when you had asked him, that he said he did three things. That one, they signed Susie, that he signed his own name Stu, and they signed Gus. Now that's what he told you originally, wasn't it?
When you say originally, are you referring to the first interview, or are you referring to the second interview as well, or are you?
Officer, please, listen to my question. I said, when he first spoke with you and you asked him and he gave you that information, that means first. It doesn't mean second or 15. First, when he spoke to you, he told you that if you put Stu down, he wrote Stu down. They wrote Gus down, and they wrote Susan down for Susan. Isn't that correct?
No, Gus didn't come up for a significant period of time after that.
All right, could we play the other lodge in there at the time to play with the tape?
Which item are you referencing, Mr. Pitaro? If you could be specific, please.
Well, I'm not sure how it came in, Your Honor. This would be, she has the, Jenny put it in three of them. We had it broken out by time frame. And, we have it. But I tell you what, I'll keep doing that. Let me keep doing, I'll keep trying to find that, but I'll keep thinking.
Well, hold on, Mr. Pitaro, what exactly would you like the clerk to look for at this point?
I would like, the clerk to look for the following language that starts manner in which that is.
It would be helpful if you could clarify the exhibit.
It is the triple exhibit you introduced on the thumb drive. I don't know if you put them, in 1, 2, 3 different interviews. There were 3 different interviews, Your Honor, at 3 different times. So this would be the beginning, the second interview, I think would be the Starbucks.
So if you're referring to, I believe the interviews you're referring to are on the thumb drive. I believe Mr. Stege had previously stated all of them are on the same thumb drive. Is that correct, Mr. Stege?
It is, Your Honor, and it's Exhibit M, as in Mary.
So, Mr. Pitaro, you would like to view Exhibit M, the beginning of the second interview, the one that was conducted on the patio near the Starbucks.
Your Honor, tonight, if you could address it to Ms. Stone, she has that information on the time frame on the case. You should have that information, she gives it to the clerk. I'm seeing my summer update.
Certainly, go ahead, Ms. Stone.
Your Honor, I think he's referring to the interview at Starbucks at around 24:45, 24 minutes and 45 seconds in.
On State's Exhibit M.
Yes.
All right, we can certainly,
It should be under Handte, by the way, in case there's Hillygus and Handte both on there, I would imagine it should be under his interview.
Do you have your own copy, otherwise we'll need to play
Yeah, I have my own
from,
copy.
okay, so we'll have to play it there so he can also see it.
My preference would be we play from the exhibit, and whoever plays it, but I think that's the most proper.
all right, I agree that playing it from the exhibit itself is fine. Looks like the second interview at 24:45. And so, this might take another moment to set up for technology. Do you think you have enough information to get it set up at that point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I will leave briefly as soon as it's set up and ready to play, just let me know and I'll.
Your Honor, can I have a meeting with counsel with you at the bench, please, for a moment?
All right, counsel? I don't know how Mr.
Oh,
Pitaro is gonna
yeah.
be able to be
The-
included. Ms. Stone
Ms.
can certainly.
Stone is fine, I don't think Tara's
Well, but the problem is if Mr. Evenson's asking to approach the bench to have a conference,
Yeah, just,
there's not gonna be a way that you
It-
can hear Mr. Pitaro without everyone hearing.
Ms. Stone can, approach this, and if there's a problem, you can, that would be fine.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I just have to be out here by 4:15.
All right.
All rise, please.
I find you in contempt. I am going to incarcerate you.
Pursuant to that Supreme Court rule, your death penalty is qualified.
Please put in writing your concerns or objections.
Any statement that you make is under penalty of perjury.
No, that's not how that works.
We will take this case under submission.
That would require proof by very significant evidence.
I want them to be present, and I want to be able to see them throughout these proceedings.
All rise for Judge Sullivan.
Good afternoon, please be seated. So we're back on the record. All right, Detective Jenkins, you are still under oath. Ms. Stone, I see you are at the podium. Are you prepared to play the requested clip of the exhibit that Mr. Pitaro asked for?
Yes, the requested clip from Mr. Pitaro is actually from Exhibit M at 14 minutes and 41 seconds approximately of the first interview at the house.
All right, go ahead.
And it's Stu?
Yeah, I signed in the stew and Roger grabbed a pen, Susan, Roger grabbed a pen, and I turned to go through the door.
Okay, and then, so after you guys sign in, they grant you access? And you guys walk to, do you remember what room you initially walked to? And end up finding somebody else in? Okay. And so he asked you, hey, is it okay if I walk around and try and find her? And you go with him? What's Tracy doing at this point?
Tracy's outside in the lobby.
Okay, so he stays in the lobby?
Stays in the lobby.
Okay. Do you remember what room you initially find her in, or that you actually find her inside of?
No, because he goes back up to the front desk,
Okay.
the main desk.
Do you go with him?
Yeah, but I'm more back, it's not my.
Okay.
So he talks to, these two ladies there, said, and I overhear the conversation, I'm Roger Hillygus, I'm here to see my mom, Taylor.
Did they ask him for paperwork at all?
He has the paperwork.
Okay.
One of the ladies turns to the guy, she goes, you know where Susan Hillygus is? He said, yeah, follow me. So he takes Roger, they go down a different hall.
Okay.
And then a few minutes later, she's back up there.
Okay, why do you sign in?
Because I guess everybody's supposed to sign.
Okay, did Tracy sign in?
That, I don't.
Okay, okay, I want you to be honest with us, Stu, you're a good guy, obviously. We've talked to a lot of people at the care home, and I know that's not exactly what happened. I gotta imagine this is not a good situation for you, and you got dragged in the middle of something that is turning out to be fairly ugly. But because of that, you have to tell us the truth, you know, and I know that that's not exactly how it happens. We have that sign-up sheet. We have it that first day, right when they call us.
Yeah, like I said, I signed in.
Your name's not on there, Stu.
Should be.
Your name's not on there, and we know that you don't ask for Susan, and we know he doesn't identify himself as Roger.
That's not what, I'm standing right there when he says, I'm Roger Hillygus, I'm gonna get my mom.
Well, we have the sign-up sheet, and it has everything right up until the point that you guys are there, and your guys' names are not on it.
That's strange, because I remember writing my name on there. so I don't know where you have it gone. I signed in.
Well, and it's right, it's not like it's a new sheet, right? I mean, it's right in the middle of the sign-up sheet. We've talked to both gals at the front desk, and they have an entirely different impression of how that interaction went. And so, I tend to believe them. They were all interviewed separately, and they all came up with strikingly similar stories. And I guess my concern for you is you really have very little involvement other than trying to help this guy out with a situation that I think a lot of people would want to help him with. But having said that, you've got to be able to tell the truth and say, hey, this is what happened, and so far, that's not it.
Well, I'm not gonna.
And we're coming to you for help, Stu. I mean, we want to find this lady.
And like I said, that when I told, who did I talk to? I said, there's a relative in Southern California that they could have gone to. And nobody knows that except me, because he mentioned that.
Mhm.
Only mentioned it in passing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's strange, because I remember putting my name down.
Their name's not on the list, and we have all of them. We have the entire list, and they call us immediately. It actually freaks them out quite a bit, and,
But how do you let this person go out the door?
because I don't think he identified himself as Roger Hillygus. And we also know he asked for somebody else, and I'm hoping you can provide us that information, corroborate it, and, otherwise uninvolve yourself. It's unfortunate you are involved to this extent, and I get that, and that's such a shitty, for lack of a better term, position to be in. But, this can get worse, and that's what we're trying to prevent. I think my guess is here that because he was not welcome in that home, that this wasn't gonna go well. If he just came and said, hey, I'm Roger Hillygus, he was gonna get told the same thing he's always been told for the last year. So I know that's not what happened. But, there's some criminal culpability here, and that's why we need you to tell the truth so that we can uninvolve you, and say, hey, this was his extent to this part, but from this point on, he's been honest, he's been cooperative. And like I said, we've talked to too many people at the home, all who have very consistent stories, and we know that's not what happened. And I'm sure you're in a bad position, because you probably don't want to get this guy in trouble, because it sounds like he has good intentions. It sounds like he's motivated by the right reasons, right? Like, he loves his mom, he doesn't want her to be in this home, and he knows that he can care for her better than they can. And I can certainly be sympathetic with that. Legally, he didn't go about it the right way. Not the end of the world if we find her, right? Not the end of the world. If we find her and we can get her, to medical care and everything else, really, everybody's criminal culpability, other than potentially his, goes down entirely. If people don't tell the truth, then, there's some criminal culpability involved for you, for Tracy.
I remember writing.
But still, I'm telling you, it's not there, and I have no reason to lie to you. None whatsoever.
I believe the next clip that Mr. Pitaro would like to be played is still in the first interview at the house on Exhibit M, starting at about 28 minutes and 30 seconds.
All right.
That it would have been him.
100% sure.
100%, and now you're telling me the truth?
Yes.
Okay, so he walks in there and he says, I need to see Alice, and he tells him his name is Gus.
I believe he writes down Gus. Yes.
Okay, and what do you write on that sheet? Or do you not write anything?
I wouldn't say I did, but.
No, Stu, think. We're talking a couple days ago, we're not talking years ago. Just tell me the truth. You don't even have to think about it as long as it's true. And that's the beauty of this whole situation. Did you write on it or no? And it's okay either way, as long as you're truthful about it, we can explain it and I can work with you.
I wouldn't say I wrote on there, but I remember him writing Gus.
You remember him writing Gus? Okay. And do you remember Tracy writing anything?
No, I never saw Tracy write anything.
Okay. And so, what do they say when you tell them, okay, he's Gus, here to see Alice, then they buzz you back?
Okay, and I believe those are the clips Mr. Pitaro was referring to from the first interview at the house.
All right. Mr. Pitaro, sir, if you could unmute yourself, were those the only two clips you'd like played regarding your questions of this witness?
Your Honor, there will be some other question I'll be asking her specifically.
Yes, that's fine. fine, I just wanna make sure you didn't want any other clips shown at this point. Okay, thank you, Ms. Stone. So go ahead with your questions, Mr. Pitaro.
Okay, thank you. Detective, Jenkins, you have in front of you, you should have in front of you, what Ms. Stone gave you, two signing sheets.
Your Honor, if I may approach the witness with that, I believe the sign-in sheet has been previously admitted.
It has been previously admitted, I'm not sure what exhibit it is.
We could, Ms. Clerk, do you have the sign-in sheet, which is the exhibit?
F.
Exhibit F, so Mr. Pitaro, Ms. Stone is approaching the witness with the state's exhibit F. She now has the sign-in sheet, Mr. Pitaro.
I have to, for some reason, still have the, let me go there, let me try and get back in if I can't find her.
I think you just need to activate your video again, Mr. Pitaro. Your audio is just fine. There you go. Yep, now we can see, if you just lean back a bit, we can see more than just your eyes and the top of your head.
I don't see her.
If you could say something, Ms. Detective
Hi.
Jenkins, the camera will be turned to you.
Can you, there it is.
There we go.
Now, Detective Jenkins. In front of you, should be, two signing sheets. Do you see them?
I do.
And what is the, first signing sheet you're looking at? Give me the number.
The number?
And the letter on the back, the exhibit number.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is F is in Frank.
Okay, now I want you to look at F as in Frank. And is that a sign-in sheet or a sign-out sheet?
It is a sign-in sheet.
Okay, now on F, does it show, in there that Susie was being visited?
It does.
And does it show Stu signed in?
It does with Gus.
And it also says Gus, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Now, here's the problem we have, isn't it, Detective? When you interviewed Mr. Handte, you did not know that that sheet existed, did you?
I did know the sheet existed. I had not viewed it myself.
Well, it's interesting because 2 weeks later, it was Detective Barnes went back to Stone Valley and he found those sheets. Are you aware of that?
I wasn't aware of when he had collected them. He told me he had collected sheets that initial morning we started our investigation. That was my understanding, at least.
Well, you told Mr. Handte initially that he did not sign Stu, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And that wasn't true, was it?
It appears I was mistaken. You are correct.
Not only were you mistaken, he was correct, was it?
Yes, he was.
And secondly, on the signing sheet, it has Susie on it, doesn't it?
It does have, yes, it looks like Susie.
Yeah. And when it says Susie there, we already went through Susie, so let me ask you this. You told Mr. Handte, when you interviewed him, that that wasn't true, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And he also has their Gus, isn't that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And Gus, you know, is Mr. Roger Hillygus, don't you?
I later learned that. I did not know that at the time.
Well, during the interviews with Mr. Handte, you told Mr. Handte that you had seen text messages that he had sent, that Mr. Hillygus had sent to Mr. Handte, and he signed them back.
That was part of the second interview that occurred at the Reno police station.
All right, so you're telling us then now, when you said that you, when you said that Stewart Handte was wrong, that Gus was on that signing sheet, you were wrong, weren't you?
I think I told him, and yes, I was wrong, I told him that we did not find the name Stu on this sheet.
Well, but you did find the name Stu, didn't you?
misinterpreted that clearly and thought the name above it was Josie. That is clearly my mistake. I will admit to that, but it certainly was not an intentional overlook.
You mean since August 8th, 2018, this is the first time you became aware of it?
2019, but yes, that is the first time I've interpreted that as Susan.
Well, it's not how you interpret it, Susie, is it?
What do you mean?
It says Susie, doesn't it?
It does, up until this point, I read that as Josie, each time I looked at it.
And did you misinterpret Stu where it says Stu?
I definitely didn't read it as Stu. Now I can see it as a very sloppy, I can see how it can be interpreted as Stu, and it looks like GOS, which I can look at and say is likely Gus, yes.
Likely Gus, and that's their omission too, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And as we listen to this tape of you specifically told Mr. Handte he did not sign in a certificate.
Yes, I did.
You told him that you had done interviewing and that he was wrong, correct?
Can you repeat that question, the first half of it?
That you had interviewed the people at Stone Valley, and they said that wasn't correct, that he didn't sign it.
Yes, that they had been interviewed, not that I specifically interviewed them.
Oh, you had that information because you imparted it to Mr. Handte, didn't you?
Sorry, I'm having difficulty hearing you.
You told Mr. Handte that when you were interviewing him, and the clip we just listened to, didn't you?
I told Mr. Handte what?
That the two people out there said that he did not sign it.
I didn't tell him that they said he didn't sign the sheet. I believe what I told him was that we did not see his name Stu on the sign-in sheet or Susan.
Actually, we just listened to what you said, and that's not what you said in the tape. What you said in the tape was that you interviewed the people out there independently, both girls remember independently. They were there to see someone else. And now we're talking about two independent witnesses. That's what you told Mr. Handte, wasn't it?
Yes, I thought your question was whether or not I told Mr. Handte the witnesses there saw or didn't see him personally signing the log.
Now let's go to that. So what we have done is the initial part of this interview by you, this investigation by you. You have made, as you admit now, crucial errors in your interpretation of what was said. Is that correct?
In what was said, what are you asking me if I misinterpreted?
Misinterpreted when you told Stewart Handte you didn't put Stu down. You were wrong.
Yes, I was wrong.
And you didn't know you were wrong when you said it, did you?
You're correct.
This wasn't some sort of police deception or ruse like you testified to earlier.
I don't think I ever testified that that particular portion of the interview was a ruse, and no, it certainly was not meant as a ruse.
Okay. And with the Susan was the same thing. You told him he was wrong.
I told him.
Thought he was wrong.
Correct.
And with the Gus, as we're sitting here today, 3 years later, now you see Gus is on the sheet, correct?
It appears that way to me, yes.
Yes. And you told him that wasn't correct too, didn't you?
I don't believe I did tell him that was incorrect.
What happens next is this is where we get into it. Because this wasn't a ruse on your part. You just had totally misinterpreted the information that you claimed you had, right?
I misread the log and or misunderstood Detective Barnes' reading of the log.
And you realize, you are aware that it was 2 weeks later Detective Barnes went out and got the interviews from the clerical people that he discovered that there were the other signing sheets. That's when you first became aware of it, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? It is difficult to hear you.
Yeah, I'm trying to yell and make you talk fast. Let me slow down. Detective finds about a couple weeks after this interview with Mr. Handte filmed out.
I'm not sure. I know he went to the care home a number of times. I'm not sure when exactly he went to the care home.
And when he got to the care home, he was looking for the sign-in sheets, the sheets that have Allison, wasn't he?
He did a number of things, and can you be more?
Let's leave it at the Alice thing. He was out looking for where the Alice had been put down. Remember that?
I think he was looking for the sign-in sheets to collect so that we had all of the entries on there and they could be looked at.
Yeah, the one you were looking for was Alice, wasn't it?
I don't know that that's true. I think we looked at the entire sheet.
Well, let's go back. During this initial interview, that we now know you were wrong. You told Mr. Handte that they falsified a name and put Alice down. Didn't you?
Correct. Actually, I believe he told me that. I didn't tell him that.
You didn't tell him what?
I believe he told me that he wrote the name Alice.
No. He told you that he wrote Susan.
Initially, he did. He later changed his statement.
And then you told him he was the wife, right?
I did. Yes, I did.
And you told him that if he wanted to get out of this, he had to tell you the truth.
I told him several times I told him I wanted him to be truthful with me. I wanted him to tell the truth.
And he was truthful, except you didn't know it, did you?
He was truthful about that one particular thing, yes.
Well, it took you off that whole sign-in sheet, wasn't it? Yes.
Yeah, at some point, yes, although that information progressed and came out at different stages. But no, I mean, he was not initially forthcoming about the name Gus. That was not mentioned first. That was mentioned later in the interview.
Well, let's do that then, because you were telling him that if he and Mr. Hillygus went out there and used a phony name to see Alice. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
And that's not true, is it?
It appears it is not, other than the name
Well,
Gus.
3 years later, you look at the sheet and you see that there is no place where Mr. Handte or Mr. Hillygus put down that they wanted to see Alice, didn't you?
I know, I only have his word for that.
Now, you have the sheets for that, don't you? Now, because you're investigating, you look at all the sheets, you look at them now, 3 years later, you know what's on those sheets, right?
I object to the form of the question. The witness gave the answer that she has his word for it on this issue, and here, she's given the answer to this question a number of times.
Mr. Pitaro, it seems that this question has been asked and answered.
All right, I'll move on this. I would like to, get to the end. The point of the matter is, Detective Jenkins, you never found a sheet where Mr. Hillygus or Mr. Handte put down the name Alice as the person that they wanted to see. Isn't that true?
I don't know who wrote the name Alice. It's very possible it was the third member of their party. I don't know. I wasn't there when it was signed.
But I'm not asking you what, I'm saying that you never had anything that you have now to show that Roger Hillygus or Stewart Handte signed in that they wanted to see Alice. Isn't that correct?
Again, I only have Mr. Hante's word that that's what he signed in.
No, you, wait a minute, we'll get to that. I'm asking.
I object to I'm sorry, Mr. Pitaro, if I could object to the argument with the answer, right? The proper way is to come back to a new question, not say, no, and go to the next, to a question. It is argumentative and improper in form.
Thanks for your help, Mr. Stege, I appreciate it. So let me come back to it. There is no sign-in sheet or sign-out sheet that you retrieved from Stone Valley Nursing Home that indicates that Roger Hillygus or Stewart Handte signed in to see the president by the name of Allison. Isn't that true?
Yes, I would say it is.
But when you spoke with Mr. Handte, when we're talking about the interview, you told him that he had in fact signed in under a phone name Allison. Is that correct?
He told me that. I did not tell him that.
Oh, no, you told him first. Because you listened to it about Allison. You're the one that said that they used the phony name Alice before Mr. Handte ever mentioned Alice. Isn't that true?
I don't believe that's accurate.
And you thought that that was true, didn't you?
I don't know that I was, no, I don't know that I did know that that was true at that point.
Now, you then told Mr. Handte during this initial conversation concerning the signing fee that was written to Stege, and we got an evidence, by the way, in the court that listened to him to see where his testimony is and if it when you say it. But what I'm saying is that what you did is you told them, or you told Mr. Handte, that you had to tell the truth. Because they had independent witnesses that said he is not telling the truth, correct?
I told him that there were independent witnesses there and that they were under the impression, as were we, that the name Stu had not been written on the wall.
You also, you told him that the name Alice had been written as a name of a resident that he wanted to see.
Again, I'm going to tell you that I believe it's him who provided me with the name Alice prior to us discussing it together.
Now, the other thing is that you are now aware 3 years later, and excuse me, I missed their name, but Miss Diamond was incorrect when she said that she saw a false name being placed down on the sheet by Mr. Hillygus or Mr. Handte. You're aware that she's incorrect.
Objection to the question calls for a witness to give an opinion about the credibility of another witness. It also assumes facts, not evidence. It's also speculation.
Your response, Mr. Pitaro?
Yes, if I may, what we actually have is Detective Barnes making those conclusions in his report and then going through with the people out there as part of the investigation. Once again, this is part of the investigation into Mr. Handte and Mr. Hillygus, that in fact that they were incorrect. And that is in there, and her is the chief investigator, is charged to demolish what is in her own investigation.
But the reference to the person Diamond and what that person did or didn't know, I believe in Mr. Stege's objection, so I'm going to sustain it at this point.
Let me just make it a record, Your Honor, we don't, when they say that Mr. Handte wasn't telling the truth, that seems to be admissible, but when the police say that someone else isn't correct, that now becomes inadmissible. And I just put that on for the record, Your Honor. Barnes went out and spoke to, the two clerks, is that correct?
Yes, I was.
And you were also aware that you took, statements from them?
Yes, at least verbal statements, yes.
Well, then you take written statements?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
And they were also recorded interviews, weren't they?
I believe they were, yes.
And you as the chief, I think you were the chief investigator, it looks like from the paperwork, that I would assume that as the investigator, you would make yourself aware of the evidence in the case, specifically, recorded interviews by potential witnesses.
Same objection, Your Honor. Her awareness of this, of the other interviews, completely irrelevant. It calls for a hearsay. It is attempting to get around the last sustained objection.
Your response, Mr. Pitaro?
Yes, Your Honor, maybe I have a distorted sense after 45 years of hearsay, but that isn't it. This is the integrity of an investigation. You have a chief investigator out there who is charged with putting it together. You already know that after 3 years, you now found out that she was woefully mistaken in her statement. What I'm telling this court is that she listened to those tapes, and she couldn't listen to those tapes. That's my question. Did you listen to what those individuals said? That's what my question is.
Your Honor, there is no integrity of the investigation, or 45 years in practice exception to the rule that I have cited, that being hearsay and relevance.
With all due respect, Your Honor, my 45 years and integrity investigation, I question is relevant. So I ask my question again, is did you listen to the recorded statement of the people out of Stone Valley that were taken by Detective Barnes?
And I will allow the question. I will allow the question, but Mr. Pitaro, you repeatedly said 3 years. I believe it's not. I believe it's 2. Just correct the record.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so I'll allow the question about what part of the interview she listened to or did not listen to.
I did not listen. Sorry, go ahead.
You were aware that these people were interviewed, correct?
Yes, I was.
And you were aware that they were recorded interviews,
That was my assumption, yes.
and you were aware they had handwritten statements interviews.
I'm sorry, I'm having a really difficult time hearing you.
Handwritten statements? That is, they filled out witness statements.
Yeah, I mean, I don't recall if they filled out witness statements at this moment. It's very possible they did.
Well, it's normal police procedure, isn't it, if you're talking to a witness, ask them to fill out a statement?
No, not necessarily.
So, when are you telling us that you don't know if you ever had the opportunity as chief detective in this case to review witness statements?
I did. I thought you were asking me if Detective Barnes had collected written statements from those people, or had elected rather to do recorded statements, or if at any point in time the staff members did written statements at an earlier point in the investigation, maybe when dealing with patrol officers.
Did you review those statements?
Yes, I've reviewed all the statements in this case, all the written statements. I don't remember if those, this diamond person you're asking about wrote one specifically.
And also, I take it that as the chief investigator that you would review the reports filed by Detective Barnes?
Yes, I did.
And when detective, so you're aware of Handte, that's part of your purview as investigator, isn't it? You made aware of the gathering of the evidence?
Correct.
And so you, discussing this matter with Barnes is something that would be the normal course of any officer investigating an offense, correct?
Objection to the relevance, and it calls for a hearsay answer.
Mr. Pitaro?
Hearsay is another course, I believe, officer to treat the matter with certainty.
Right?
In which
And relevant, sir, that who she talked to, irrelevant in the state's position.
With all due respect, Your Honor, then this whole case revolves around the allegations that Mr. Hillygus and Mr. Handte deceptively entered this, that Mrs. Hillygus by filing false information on signing sheet. I cannot think of nothing more relevant to this case. And these are their witnesses, they're not mine.
So I will allow it at this point.
Can you ask the question again?
As the investigating officer, it would have been part of your purview duty to review the reports gathered in this case, correct?
Correct.
And that would include not only witness statements, but reports filed by other police officers involved.
Correct.
And it would also include the review of audio, videotape that in fact they existed.
Yes, not necessarily. In this case, not necessarily everything that was recorded was reviewed at length by me. If that answers your question.
Well, the answer is they're not at length, if you review it, it's maybe not very thoroughly.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I can't hear what you're saying without seeing your mouth.
Sorry.
And Mr. Pitaro, I've asked you to, you need to scoot back, sir. That's the problem, is we're having difficulty only seeing your mouth part of the time. There we go. Now we can see your whole face.
And it's abundant. I don't know if my face is the problem, it's my voice I can't hear. But be that as it may, Miss Detective Jenkins, going back to the question, this is what you would do, isn't it? You would review the evidence.
Yes, so I certainly make an attempt to review the evidence that we have in these cases. Every case is a little different, and some of the review of evidence is handled differently. Sometimes I talk to the detectives who obtain that information rather than reviewing the audio recordings of those specific interviews.
So you either reviewed them yourself or you spoke to the other detectives involved, including Detective Bond, concerning this case, correct?
Correct.
Now, what I want to ask you then is the second area that came up here. And that is, you told us it was a ruse when you said you used a videotape, correct?
You're referring to this second interview at the Reno police station, correct?
Whenever you said, when you told them that you looked at the videotape, that you said that was a ruse.
Correct. I was aware that we didn't have video evidence from the care home itself.
Now, in addition to the finding sheet that you have there, you have another one, and if you just read that, turn it over, read the number for the record.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what the question, Your Honor.
There should be two signing sheets up there, Mr. Stege. We referenced the one with Stu, Gus, and Sissy on it. I'm now asking to reference the second one, and for the record, to read in the exhibit number, because I don't have it down here. So I'd like to run the record so we know what we're talking about. I believe Ms. Stone had given that to her prior to signing that up.
So he's asking you to look at an exhibit number and state what it is.
It is also exhibit number F as in Frank. Page 2 of that exhibit.
All right, so over there it's two pages, okay?
Correct.
Now, I want you to look at the part of F that is not the one with Stu, Susie, and Gus on it, but the other one.
Okay.
Did you get that in front of you?
I do.
Okay. And on that, you see in there that by the name of Tracy signed there. Is that correct?
I may be missing it, if you could direct me a little further. You're referring to the second sheet that's actually the resident sign out sheet, correct?
Right, sign out sheet, yes, the second page. Is there an indication there that an entry by the name of Tracy signed in and out?
I'm not seeing the name Tracy on here. If you'd like to direct me further, I'd be happy to look. I'm not seeing it right now.
All right, John, can Ms. Stone approach and show it to her?
Yes, Ms. Stone, you can approach the witness. And you can follow Mr. Stege to see which part of the list she's being directed to.
And Your Honor, if I may, I believe the portion of the list Mr. Pitaro is referring to is in fact the first page on the bottom line of the second sheet.
Did you hear that, Mr. Pitaro?
Yes, I did, thank you, Your Honor.
So the witness is now reviewing the first page as directed.
Yes, sir, I see the name Tracy.
And you see the name Tracy, and you see the person signed in with the time,
I do.
and the person signed out with the time.
I do,
And that person signed in to see Alice.
correct.
And you're aware that Tracy is Tracy Griffin, aren't you?
Are you asking me if I'm aware that this entry was done by Tracy Griffith? I don't have a way to answer.
Yeah. What's that?
I don't know, sir. I wasn't there when it was signed.
I didn't ask you if there was signed, if you made one investigation over the last 2 years, you became aware that Tracy Griffin signed that sheet, aren't you?
I was not aware of that.
Were you there present when Mr. Griffin gave an interview with the, deputy district attorney at our last, hearing?
I was not present for that, no.
And, we correct the record, that I think he's referring to testimony, which the witness could not be here for due to the rule of exclusion.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Mr. Stewart. No, my turn to tell you.
Yeah, Mr. Pitaro, I'm asking that the record be corrected. I think, sir, you're referring to the testimony given by Mr. Griffith, which the witness could not be here for due to the rule of exclusion.
No, I understand that. I'm talking about, were you present when Mr. Stege interviewed the, Mr. Griffith?
No, I was not.
Again, assumes the fact, not evidence.
Well, the evidence is you testified and you testified to the standard before you came in, subpoena, and not with you. That's part of the record, that's why I asked the question. All right, did you ever make any inquiry when you saw this signing sheet out that has Tracy on it and Alice, and the time frame of whether or not Mr. Griffith had in fact signed in to see Alice? Did you make any inquiry on that?
I did attempt to talk to Mr. Griffith, yes.
Is that,
I did make an attempt to talk to Mr. Griffith, yes.
I didn't ask if you made the attempt, did you in fact ascertain that he was in fact the person who signed it?
Oh, no, I was not able to do that with him.
Okay. Are you aware of his? Now, in there, when we look at these, signing sheets, there is no other signing sheet that would reference, other entries on there that would reference, Susan Hillygus, is there? On Exhibit F, page 23.
You're asking if there are any that reference Susan Hillygus on only these 2 pages of Exhibit F?
Yes.
Not that I am aware of.
And
Oh, actually,
just to be clear, those are the only 2 signing sheets that have been provided to us, on the day in question. You're aware of that?
I'm not aware of what's been provided to you. I believe these are the 2 we have.
Yeah, okay, that was probably the way to do it. The two signing sheets that you have, those are the 2 that you got, pursuant to your investigation, you do or other methods, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't review any, there were not other signing sheets that were, given you from, the August 8th, 2019 date with it.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry. It's,
That if there were no other sign-in or sign-out sheets for August 8th, 2019 that were given to you as part of this investigation from Stone Valley.
that is my understanding from Detective Barnes, who is the one to collect these.
Now, the, situation with the, investigation. We had a videotape or a tape, body cam, produced to us, that was, by the original investigating officer, I believe that was, Patrolman Avalon.
Objection to the form of the question.
Specifically, Mr. Stege?
So far, we have produced to us a body cam produced by an officer. That's not a question. And it's going to an area that is not proper, again, in hearsay.
And could you be more specific, Mr. Pitaro?
Sure, I'd be more than happy to. As the lead detective on this case, you gathered the, evidence, correct?
I did not gather all of the evidence. No, it was gathered from various officers and detectives throughout the investigation.
All right. But you were the person who was basically in charge of the evidence, correct? I don't mean in a crime lab situation. As the lead detective, you were the one who was responsible for the evidence.
I guess what do you mean you're responsible for the evidence? I'm not responsible for booking evidence collected by other detectives, certainly documenting that evidence, no.
But you're responsible for being aware of it.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. And one of the things that you were aware of was the detective, or the officer who was initially called out to the nursing home had a body, what do you call it, camcorder. Correct?
I am on hearing parts of your question. I'm so sorry.
You were aware that the officer who initially went out to the nursing home on August 8, 2019 had a operational camcorder working.
Objection to lack of personal knowledge. Unless the witness was there, she cannot know. Again, I lay my objection as to the relevance of this line of question.
And I've allowed some questions into the investigation. I think this is another question to the investigation. I'll allow it, but Mr. Pitaro, at some point, the relevance does have its limits, but I'll allow the question.
Are you aware of that recording?
Yes, I was.
And you have reviewed it or discussed it with other detectives investigating this matter?
Yes, I have.
And you saw on there that the body cam, in fact, had signing sheets on it.
Objection. Lack of personal knowledge, relevance, improper foundation.
Remember went to the 901 objective and the person to testify that it is what it's supposed to be, and as the lead detective, I have to believe that she would know what is on her own evidence.
But let's see that the way evidence works, we gotta have a piece of evidence before us, not ask another person to testify about a piece of evidence that's not before the court without a proper foundation, and it contains hearsay and all these other things.
Well, that's exactly what the foundation is, to find out if she knows it existed and did she review it as the lead detective.
Well, and I believe she's already asked and answered that particular question, so this next question, I will sustain the objection.
What question? That she reviewed?
She already asked and answered that question, indicating that she had, I believe.
And you have, Did you discuss this matter at all with the officer who went out to the Stone Valley, nursing home?
I don't think I did discuss it with him personally, no.
Did one of the other detectives discuss it with him and impart, that knowledge to you as the detective?
I don't know off the top of my head, that any detectives had a conversation specifically with that patrol officer in particular.
And if they in fact had, it was because not that you're trying to, deceive us, it's just, you just don't remember.
That's correct.
Now, when you interviewed Mr. Handte, he told you that after they had signed in, that they were granted access to the residential area. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And he told you that they just let him in, right?
Correct.
On this, did you determine as the lead investigator whether the Stone Valley personnel attempted to ascertain the identity of the individuals who they had now let into the residential area, i.e. Mr. Handte and Mr. Hillygus?
It tried to ascertain their identity further than them signing the sheet. I'm not aware of any attempts on their part to do so, no.
And let me ask you this, did you inquire as the lead investigator why they did it?
Objection calls for hearsay.
How would you inquire?
It's hearsay.
Mr. Pitaro?
It's not hearsay. Hearsay, how to put that right now, system manager service. Did you ask yes or no? You did yes. You didn't know. Not hearsay.
I'll allow it for this limited question.
Can you repeat the question?
Did you inquire as to why they did or didn't do that? That is the identification.
Detective Barnes is the one who dealt with and interviewed the employees of Stone Valley Memory Care. So I'm not exactly sure if he made those inquiries or not.
Did you discuss that with Detective Barnes at all, as the lead investigator?
Objection, hearsay, an out-of-state court statement offered for the truth of the matter.
As in previous testimony, I believe he's asking whether a discussion took place, not the contents of the discussion. So I will allow him to ask whether the discussion took place, not the contents of the discussion.
Did that discussion take place between you and Detective Barnes or any other detective?
It may have. I don't recall a specific conversation with him about, in fact, I'm sure we did discuss what attempts, if any, they had made to identify the people they were allowing into the home.
The reason I ask this, if I didn't get a question, I was answered it, is that in the review of the numerous Reno Police Department reports, there in fact wasn't any real discussion concerning ascertaining the identity of a locked facility. Is that something that you would put in there, or is something you would have just left out because it was so basically obvious?
Well, I'd like to think if I had done those interviews, I would have included it, but I don't know what other officers may or may not have included in their reports.
I don't want to go back to that same question, but we already ascertained, we investigated, you were aware of the reports of the other officers. I'm not asking you to remember specifically word for word, if you did testify earlier, that as lead investigator, your charge was to, make sure that you're aware of all of it. It would include, we said before, reading the other acts reports, correct?
I object to the form of the question, the compoundness of it, and that it calls for a hearsay answer into the relevance of the, what is in the compilation of hearsay documents that are police reports.
Your response, Mr. Pitaro?
As you know, in a criminal case, the findings by an agency, may be introduced in a criminal case by the defense, but not the state. That's what I am doing. I'm dealing with that. These are the findings of an investigation through the chief investigator. And we are asking, in fact, that, what is or isn't fair. That's all. I mean, that is an acceptable irrelevant stuff.
Did you say what is or isn't fair?
Fair.
Oh, there, okay, okay, thank you. So, being the question pertains to the investigation, I will allow it.
Can you answer that, Detective, please?
Just so I'm clear, the question was whether or not that information was documented in the reports.
And your answer is you don't know?
I don't know off the top of my head, no.
Let me just ask this is a general thing. Prior to coming into court to testify, what documents did you review?
Before today's testimony, I reviewed my report.
And did you also discuss other reports with other individuals?
Did I read through those reports today?
No, did you discuss other reports with individuals prior to coming in to testify today?
No, I haven't.
Now, the facility itself, that is out there, we've had testimony, did you tell me what a nursing home with Alzheimer's component consists of?
No.
That is not something that you attempted to ascertain in your investigation.
As far as what kind of care they specifically, are you asking about the care that they provide their patients at an Alzheimer's care facility? You're confused. Your question is confusing.
Answer that part first, and then move on to the second.
I can't hear you. I'm so
I
sorry.
think you need to repeat the question, Mr. Pitaro.
Okay. Detective Jenkins, are you aware of, or did you investigate what is required by a nursing home with Alzheimer's component to it?
We discussed with that, well, Detective Barnes discussed with that home what their care plan was specifically for Miss Hillygus as their patient. I hope that answers your question.
And I believe that, as you said the other day, that was the extent of the inquiry by Detective Barnes.
Was that the extent of the inquiry by Detective Barnes?
Yes, concerning the protocols of the Alzheimer's syndrome.
I think that was his primary objective, to find out what the care home provided to Miss Hillygus prior to her being removed from there.
In the interview with Mr. Handte, you asked Mr. Handte why they parked across the street. Remember that?
I do.
And he told you that it was in the shade, didn't he?
No, I recall a different answer from him.
And I tell you that it was under tree, and the tree, that the street resident, Mr. Hillygus, and him sat up the tree in the
did not, but I don't know that he provided that as his reason, or the reason for parking there.
Well, I did not see where you had that he said that he parked there for any other reason than the shade.
I do recall him telling me, I'm sorry, I do recall him telling me he parked there for a different reason.
And where in the transfer, what is that different reason that doesn't shade?
The reason he provided me was that he parked there because that is where he found Mr. Hillygus.
So the only reason, if there was nothing nefarious, he just parked next to Mr. Hillygus, who was parking in the shade.
He didn't mention anything about the shade. In fact, he told me that he felt in hindsight that that parking location was suspicious in nature, or it was a red flag to him, is maybe how he described it.
Yeah, let's go into that. Now that we established initially that the errors that you made over the last 2 years on this, you keep referring to things that Mr. Handte told you later in the interview. Okay, like you just did. So let's discuss some of those. What Mr. Handte was told by you when he told you the truth initially, and you told him it was wrong, you then told him that he really had to tell the truth to help himself. Isn't that correct?
I object to the compound, that was like, that's so compound, it's asking the witness to agree to like 5 different things. We get to a narrow, direct question, please.
I agree, Mr. Pitaro. Can you please be more concise in your question so that the witness can answer it?
You told Mr. Handte, after you told him that you basically did not believe his story about signing in, that you wanted to help him, didn't you?
I'm so sorry, I am having a lot of difficulty understanding the question or hearing them properly, clearly.
You told him that you wanted to help him, didn't you?
Oh, I don't recall telling him that I wanted to help him. I recall asking him for help and telling him that I wanted his help in locating Miss Hillygus and in finding out what occurred.
That was a small part of it. I'm talking about what you were telling Mr. Handte that the only way he's got to tell the truth, or he's going to be in trouble.
I told Mr. Handte that I believed it was in his best benefit to tell the truth, and that certainly that situation had the potential to become much worse, and that I did feel that he lessened some of his culpability by being forthcoming and allowing us to resolve that issue before anything worse could happen.
Yeah, see, therein lies the problem if you as an investigator. Are you familiar with the lead technique?
Was that a question?
Yes.
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
Well, familiar with the read technique of police interrogation?
Yes, I am.
And would you be using that in this case?
No, sir.
So what we have though is that you are telling Mr. Handte that he, or implying that he can help himself by telling you the truth. When he told you the truth, you were wrong and didn't believe it.
About one specific issue that Mr. Handte appeared to have been correct about. You know, there were several different areas of the interview in which I felt he was being dishonest, and I did my best to encourage him to be honest, because I truly did believe it was in not only his best interest, but Ms. Hillygus as well.
Well, let's take for example, when you asked Mr. Handte where
I do.
And remember, he said he believed it was Jenkins, where Mr. Hillygus lived, right?
I remember telling me he made that assumption at one point, but that he didn't actually know where he'd taken his mom.
Well, he told you that when Mr. Hillygus said he was taking his mother home, he thought it was this down the street. Isn't that correct?
It's correct that he gave me that assumption of his and said that that was what he assumed.
Yeah. And as we go on in the interviewing process, basically you're telling him that's not true. Aren't you?
No, I don't believe I ever confronted him about a belief of mine that he was being untrue with that assumption.
Well, you kept telling him he was taking you must only take her to California.
I don't know that that's accurate.
Is it true that you told Mr. Handte that he must have known that he was taking her to California, that Mr. Hillygus was being taken to California?
I don't remember making that statement.
Did you make anything in the general nature of it without being, according to the specific language?
I remember us discussing California. I remember during the second interview, I believe Mr. Handte telling me that Mr. Hillygus had mentioned having family in California. I don't recall any other times where I told him I thought he believed she was there.
So, the testimony that, the question that we had initially, you made with Mr. Handte, concerned the substance of the documents that Mr. Hillygus had presented to them. Do you remember that?
Sorry, are you asking me if we discussed that document during that first interview?
And I'm talking, when you first discussed the document, the We the People document, it is in evidence. I'm not sure what the exhibit number is, but it is in evidence, I believe. So we'll call it the We the People documents. Is that a good generic term for those documents to you?
Yes, that makes sense to me.
Okay. And what Mr. Handte told me was that he believed that they had validity, didn't he?
I don't know that that's a complete description of what he told me.
Did he tell you that he thought that they had validity?
He told me numerous things about them. He told me that he saw something with Judge Walker's name on it.
But that's my question, okay? My question is, did he tell you that when you initially asked him about the We the People document, he thought that they were legitimate?
And Your Honor, I object. The witness was giving her answer to the previous question, at which point Mr. Pitaro interrupted and said, "That's not the question," when in fact it was the question. So in fairness, the witness ought to be able to answer the initial question in full.
So I will,
My question, and my question is, did Mr. Handte tell you that he believes after reviewing the We the People document that they have legitimacy?
I'll allow the answer.
I'm sorry. So for clarity, he never referred to it as the We the People documents. In fact, he just told me he saw a stack of paperwork that included numerous documents in it. And that in those documents, he saw something having to do with the state of Arizona. He saw something having to do with Judge Walker's court. He saw a birth certificate for Ms. Hillygus as well as a photo of her. He told me that on one or at least one of those forms, he saw an embossment, which in his mind gave him some, or afforded those documents some sort of credibility. But we also discussed, go ahead.
What I'm asking, the answer is, he didn't refer to as We the People, but I thought when you started it, we were generically going to call those documents the We the People documents. Okay? So when I'm referring, when we talk about the We the People documents, I'm talking about the documents that Mr. Handte said that he did review. Is that fair?
Oh, well, so he never was able to adequately describe the documents he saw. So if you're asking me if I can clarify for you that those documents that he told me he saw with Mr. Hillygus were in fact the same We the People documents that were later collected as evidence, I'm not sure that I can vouch for that.
Well, did you show him the documents you were talking about?
No, I did not.
So you're questioning about a bunch of documents that you don't show them to the man, that's your testimony.
I questioned him about documents he brought up to me and that he brought to my attention in explaining how these circumstances came to be and how he became involved in them.
And one of the things he told you was that he saw the embossment of the court on one of the documents, correct?
He never said it was an embossment of the court. He said that he saw an embossment on a piece of paper or a portion of one of the documents.
And that embossment is that's the embossment of the court, isn't it?
I'm
The
sorry,
certification of the document.
I couldn't hear your question.
I said that embossment is in fact the certification of the document, is it?
It can be, depending on the embossment and the document. I didn't see that particular embossment.
You didn't see the embossment of the documents that you had?
I thought you were referring to a portion of the interview in which Mr. Handte told me that he reviewed a stack of paperwork provided to him by Mr. Hillygus and claimed there was an embossment on one or at least one of the papers within that stack of paperwork.
And then the We the People document, in fact, was a document with the embossment on it, correct?
I don't know. The only copy of the We the People document I was able to review was a copy of it. I never had the original, I don't believe, or never looked at it myself.
So you never looked, is what you say.
I reviewed the document.
And I'm asking you, did you look what are the documents that had an embossment on it?
Can we clarify, because it might not be relevant if the witness is talking about a document that Mr. Hillygus possessed or another copy of that document?
Could you clarify the document, Mr. Pitaro?
Yes, Your Honor, what we started out with calling the We the People document, that you said was a generic term that we could use for the documents. And I'm asking her, when she spoke with Mr. Handte, and he told you, he said that he saw an embossment on it. So we stopped there. And I'm asking her, when she reviewed the documents of the We the People document, or documents, was there a document with an embossment on it?
I don't recall if there was or not.
It would seem pretty important if Mr. Handte was telling you that it was based on that embossment that he thought these documents had legitimacy.
I don't recall if there was an embossment or not.
On there, he also said that these documents had been filed in the Washoe County District Court.
Are you asking me about the first interview with Mr. Handte and him?
I'm talking about when you initially was talking to him about the documents at the beginning, before the jail interview. You talked to him about the documents, which we have now called the We the People documents. And what I'm asking you is it true, Mr. Handte told you that one of those documents had the captions or seals, if you will, stamp of the Washoe County District Attorney's office. I'm sorry, Washoe County District Court office.
I do not recall him describing the embossment in that much detail.
I didn't say the embossment, no, it has the embossment, we're now with the file stamp copy.
Was that a question? I missed it.
Mr. Pitaro, could you repeat, and I think some further clarification needs to be made between the embossment and the file stamp.
You know, an embossment is the pressurized seal put on the document. Are you aware of that?
Yes, sir, I am.
And even though the original document of enforcement, you can feel where the seal was affixed, is still visible on Xerox copy, isn't it?
Yes, sir, I'm just telling you, I don't remember if that was present or not.
So you don't remember that. You just know that he spoke about it, but you don't remember ever looking at it.
I'm positive I looked at it. I don't recall off the top of my head.
And then the second thing I asked you was, you mentioned that there were also documents that he produced that he thought gave legitimacy, and those were the documents that had been filed to the Washoe County District Clerk's office. Correct?
I don't recall discussing that with him, no.
And in fact, in the We the People document, the next stack of documents, there in fact is the file stamp copy of the Washoe County Clerk's office, isn't there?
I would be happy to review it just to make sure I'm understanding what you're asking me and looking at the right stuff.
Do I ask Ms. Stone to pull those documents up?
Ms. Stone may approach, if we could clarify which exhibit we're specifically referring to.
Your Honor, relative to the medical situation going on in my family, I need to make a call if I can. It'll allow me to stay rather than having to leave at 4:15. As I indicated during our best conference. So if we could, with your permission, we could be at ease and I can step outside.
Certainly, we'll take a 5-minute recess to make a call.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Evinson's request.
All right.